Belly fat is the easiest to gain and the hardest to lose, and the amount of BS information out there doesn't make it any easier. In this video, I'm not going to present you the magic pill, food, or tea. I will provide you with solid, real information you can begin to implement today. We'll break it down into 5 simple steps, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do to lose your belly fat for good. We will cover why is belly fat so hard to lose, what is the absolute key to losing belly fat, what foods to eat, what the best exercises are, and finally, the 2 most underrated and overlooked key components that nobody talks about. Now, why is it so hard to lose belly fat? Belly fat tends to be the most stubborn form of fat to eliminate because it is often the last to go. There are a few reasons for this. First one is the body's fat distribution. The way fat is distributed in the body is determined by genetics, and some people tend to accumulate more fat in their midsection. This means that when they lose weight, the fat in their belly area may be the last to go. Then there are the hormonal factors. They play a significant role in fat storage and distribution. Cortisol, for example, is a stress hormone that is linked to abdominal fat storage. High cortisol levels can make it more challenging to lose belly fat. The next reason is reduced blood flow. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation found that visceral fat, the belly fat that is located deep within the abdomen and surrounding vital organs, has a lower blood flow and is less responsive to the fat-burning hormone norepinephrine compared to the subcutaneous fat. This reduced blood flow makes it harder for the body to break down and use visceral fat for energy. Now, that all doesn't mean that we are doomed. While visceral fat can be more challenging to lose, it is not impossible. In fact, losing weight overall will lead to a reduction in visceral fat over time, as well as improvements in metabolic health and disease risk factors. So now that we've covered that, let's get to the effective solutions. And before diving into anything else, there is one crucial point that I need to emphasize. And that is that no matter how many crunches you do, you can't spot reduce fat. Doing ab crunches is great and strengthens your abdominal muscles, but it does not help make the fat disappear. The only way to reduce belly fat is to reduce your overall body fat percentage, and that happens when you are on a calorie deficit long enough. This means burning more calories than you consume. And the best way to create a calorie deficit is to modify your diet and increase your physical activity. Therefore, you first must find out how many calories you should be eating to lose fat, which you can do by using this free calorie calculator. I put the link in the description box below. And if you need more guidance to understand the calorie balance, watch this video in which I explain everything you need to know about calories. Alright, now that you figured out how many calories you should be consuming on a daily basis to lose belly fat, it's now time to change up your shopping, cooking, and eating habits. And don't worry, you don't have to give up your favorite foods. In fact, the more you enjoy the foods you eat, the more you are able to stick to your diet long term and thus see the results you desire. So depending on your current eating habits, you may need to change less or more. I always recommend implementing the 80-20 approach slowly. This means that 80% of the time you should be eating foods that are more nutritious and 20% of the foods that are less nutritious. This way you'll be able to stick to it for the rest of your life, not just for the next few months. Now you have to watch the process very carefully because eating healthier won't guarantee that you will be in a calorie deficit. What? Ina, now I'm confused. The thing is that there are foods that are high in calories and foods that are lower in calories, and healthy is not the same as low calorie. As a comparison, you can have a healthy avocado toast that has 270 calories, and you can have a jam toast that is demonized but has 220 calories. And yes, it's more than just calories, I know. It's just important for you to see that healthy doesn't mean low calorie. It's about the macronutrients and the portion. Now, if you don't want to start tracking calories, you can try out this first. Eat 3 meals a day, and each meal should include half of a plate of vegetables, 1/4 of carbohydrates, and 1/4 of a protein source. Also, limit your snacks to 2 a day and make them a fruit, vegetable, or protein source. As mentioned earlier, monitor, adjust, and improve. And if you don't see results for weeks, you can start tracking calories. Now let's come to our next step, and that is physical activity. Now, what should you be doing? Is it cardio? Is it strength training? Or is it a bunch of abdominal exercises? Y'all, I have hypothyroidism, and for me, the intensive cardio sessions were exhausting, physically damaging, brutal, and required a ton of willpower. What I found out afterwards is that I wasn't able to keep up with those crazy cardio sessions because my body was releasing a lot of the hormone cortisol. This is a stress hormone. Now, the problem here is that in women, too much cortisol tends to inhibit healthy production of the hormone progesterone, which can be linked to estrogen dominance through insulin resistance. This and the increase in cortisol can lead to increased belly fat. Wow, now we don't have to understand the whole process to realize that this whole thing has nothing to do with willpower, but with how our body works naturally and what happens when we put too much stress on it. What a surprise. So overdoing it will do the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish. Now, our bodies, especially the woman's body, is very sensitive to stress, and it's not always just about calories. We women are very hormonal creatures, and there is a lot going on inside of us. Now, that doesn't mean that calorie deficit doesn't count. The calorie deficit is still the most important factor when it comes to losing fat, but it's important to know that all factors have to be in balance. The best exercise routine is the one you can stick to for the long haul. You can certainly do high intensity workouts if you enjoy them and if you feel good about yourself. But be honest, are you doing them just to burn calories or because you actually enjoy them? One exercise that is highly underrated for fat loss is walking. Now you might say, but then I won't burn as many calories as when I run. In fact, rigid cardio is not superior to slow and steady movement. You can do 15 minutes of high intensity interval training 3 times a week or 30 minutes of brisk walking 4 times a week. Your body doesn't care which physical activity you choose to burn calories. While running will burn more calories in a shorter period of time, chances are you will quit. While walking will burn the same amount of calories, but just in a longer period of time, you will be more able to stick to it, actually for longer than just 2 months. You can start by tracking your steps, because the harsh reality is that so many people believe they need crazy cardio sessions while not even being able to make their 2K steps a day. Get a pedometer and find out how many steps you are currently taking. Start by adding 2,000 extra steps to your day. No need to try to reach 10,000 at the very beginning. Continue adding 1,000 steps each week or every second week until you reach 8,000, 10,000 or 12,000 steps per day. You can also increase your weekly average by taking long walks on the weekends. Another important thing to mention is that no matter what kind of physical activity you choose, you should use your diet as a primarily way to create a calorie deficit, because the fact is that you cannot out-train a bad diet. Eating 500 calories from 2 slices of pizza takes 2 minutes. Walking at a speed of 4 miles per hour to burn 500 calories takes 90 minutes. And please don't fall into the trap of self-licensing. Now, what is that again? That is a psychological phenomenon where people allow themselves to indulge in unhealthy behaviors because they feel they have earned the right to do so after making positive changes, such as going for a walk. Be very careful and mindful when it comes to your food choices. Our subconscious mind loves to trick us sometimes. In fact, the best way to succeed here is to make sure you do the kind of physical activity that you don't necessarily want to reward yourself for because it was so hard. Make the activity the reward. At the end of the day, everything that keeps you moving counts. Now, you've probably heard it so many times that you have to hydrate, you have to drink enough water on a fat loss journey, and so on. But why do you need to be well hydrated to speed up your fat loss process? Your body burns fat through a process called lipolysis. This is a process of breaking down stored fat for use as fuel by the body. During lipolysis, triglycerides stored in adipose tissue are hydrolyzed into glycerol and free fatty acids by lipases, enzymes that break down fats. The glycerol and fatty acids are then released into the bloodstream and transported to other tissues in the body for energy. Hydration is important for lipolysis because water is required for the process. Lipases are water-soluble enzymes, and water is necessary for their activation and function. Long and complicated, story short, being hydrated is important for optimal fat metabolism. So drink your water to support your body's natural fat-burning processes. Aim for 80 to 90 ounces of water per day. The next thing to look out for is your sleep. There is evidence that lack of sleep can contribute to the accumulation of belly fat. When you don't get enough sleep, your body's hormonal balance can be affected, which in turn can lead to an increase in the production of cortisol. If you're constantly sleep deprived, your cortisol levels will remain elevated for extended periods of time. This can have a number of negative effects on your body, including an increase in appetite, a decrease in muscle mass, and an increase in fat storage, especially around the abdomen. In a study published in 2010 in the journal Sleep, researchers recruited 15 healthy adults and randomly assigned them to either 5 nights of restricted sleep, 4 hours per night, or 5 nights of normal sleep, 9 hours per night. The participants' body composition was assessed using magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, before and after the 5-day period. The study found that participants who were restricted to 4 hours of sleep per night for 5 nights experienced an average 10% increase in visceral fat accumulation compared to those who slept 9 hours per night. This increase in visceral fat was also accompanied by a decrease in insulin sensitivity, suggesting a possible link between sleep deprivation and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. In contrast, the participants who slept 9 hours per night did not experience a significant change in visceral fat accumulation or insulin sensitivity. Now, it's important to note that this was a small study with a relatively small sample size, so these findings may not be generalizable to the larger population. Nevertheless, the results suggest that there may be a link between insufficient sleep and increased visceral fat accumulation, which can have negative health consequences. Lack of sleep may also affect the production of other hormones, such as leptin and ghrelin, which regulate appetite and metabolism. This can also lead to increased food intake, especially of high-calorie, high-fat foods. If you are sleep deprived, you may feel less satisfied after eating and be more likely to indulge in unhealthy food choices. Try to establish a consistent sleep schedule to help regulate your body's internal clock. Avoid screens before bedtime and create a relaxing sleep environment. Drink enough water throughout the day and stay hydrated so that you are not so thirsty before bedtime and do not have to get up several times during the night to drink and use the bathroom. After creating a caloric deficit, setting up an exercise schedule, staying hydrated, and focusing on quality sleep, there's one last component that must be followed. Otherwise, everything else is a waste of time. If you are overly focused on belly fat, you may overlook that your body is changing in other areas. For example, you're gaining muscle, you're losing weight overall. This can lead to discouragement and frustration because you don't see the changes you expect in your belly area. However, it's important to recognize that our bodies lose fat in different areas at different rates, and your body may hold on to belly fat longer before it starts to lose it. Now, the thing is that this can make it seem like what you're doing is not working, and you may feel tempted to give up before reaching the point where your body starts to lose belly fat. Now, you must know that if you stay consistent with your calorie deficit, your body will continue to burn fat, even if your genetics cause you to lose fat from other areas first. So the absolute key to successfully lose belly fat is consistency and patience. You didn't gain your belly fat overnight, so you won't be able to lose it overnight. Stick to the basics, stick to the steps I've mentioned, and it will work out for you. Now, don't forget to watch this video next to educate yourself about calories. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video.